You're joining us today for our office hours on determining meal eligibility. And once again, it's a pleasure to have all of you join us today. Next slide. Your presenters for today are Erica Arter. Erica is also our Zoom operator today. We have Aspen Kosmachek in our North Platte office. And myself, I'm Sean Vondrachek, and I'm located in the Lincoln office with Erica. Next slide. So just some basic housekeeping tips for today. We ask that you use the chat box to ask your questions, and please be reassured that we will answer your questions at the end of today's 2-hour presentation, before the 2 hours is up. And that you will be muted during the presentation, but you will be unmuted during the Q&A times. Next slide. So with that being said, thank you to those of you that joined us for our June 25th and July 9th update Zoom presentations for bookkeepers on what to be aware of for school year 25-26. Though the July 29th presentation is posted on the Nutrition Services website. So if you need a refresher, we ask that you go back to that Zoom presentation, and you can certainly view it. The handout packet and the slide deck are also posted. And that today, the slide deck and handout packet were emailed to you, and we're also putting the link to the slide deck and handout packet in the chat box in case you need to have it available during today's presentation. Today, we will be reviewing the handout packet in order. There are numbers on the bottom right-hand corner for you to follow throughout the presentation. And we will also, in the handout packet on page 1 is the Professional Standards Training Certificate. And you are receiving 2 hours of professional standards training, which is required for food service employees. It is not required for bookkeepers and claim contacts. What is required for bookkeepers and claim contacts is the annual civil rights training, which is required for all individuals that work in the school meals program. In the past, we've received some questions about what is my SNA number, and the SNA number is the School Nutrition Association number. If you belong to that organization, if you're a food service staff, it's not required. So don't worry about not including that. You just want to keep the certificate as documentation of attending today's training if you are a food service staff person that needs it for professional standards CEUs. So thank you on that. And I am going to be turning it over to my coworker, Aspen. In just a minute, we're going to go through what we're going to talk about in today's presentation on the next slide. And we're going to take a deeper dive into meal eligibility. And we covered direct certification in depth during the June 25th and July 9th presentations. Those were repeat sessions. Today, we're going to take a brief look at direct certification and what you need to know. And then we're going to go through approving free and reduced meal applications more in depth today. We'll be talking about navigating the USDA Eligibility Manual, the importance of confidentiality and non-disclosure of meal eligibility, a brief review of the verification process that begins October 1st, and then time to answer your questions at the end of today's presentation. Next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Aspen now.
Thanks, Sean. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, perfect. We've had a few still joining us, so I'm going to go ahead and enter the Google sign-in sheet and the materials for today's training back into the chat. So if you're just joining, check out the chat box and go ahead and sign in if you haven't already. All right, so we're going to start with the meal eligibility process and direct certification, as Sean mentioned. So as we begin evaluating student eligibility for meal benefits for the upcoming school year, which runs from July 1st through June 30th, it's essential to maintain strict confidentiality. The eligibility status of any student, whether free or reduced for priced meals, must never be disclosed during any stage of the process. School food authorities must avoid overt identification, including actions like using separate meal lines, distinct meal cards, or any other visual markers that could indicate or hint at a student's eligibility. This privacy applies throughout the entire process from the certification to the meal service. So, just an important reminder there on confidentiality. Next slide, please. So at the start of the school year, students who qualified for free or reduced price meals last year are temporarily eligible under carryover eligibility. And carryover eligibility means children who are on free or reduced at the end of the previous school year begin the new school year with those same benefits. This status lasts for the first 30 school days or until a new application is processed or the student appears on the direct certification list. So it comes down to whichever comes up first. So if a new eligibility determination is made through a new application or direct certification before the 30-day carryover period is up, then this new determination overrides the carryover status immediately. The school does not need to wait the full 30 days, even if that new status is less beneficial. Schools may encourage earlier application returns in the letter to households, which is attachment B found on our website, but must still honor the full 30-day window. So be sure to calculate your district's 30th school day, excluding non-school days such as weekends, holidays, any breaks, and begin reminding families 7 to 10 days before that deadline. On the 31st day, if no new eligibility is confirmed, then the student's status must be changed to paid, and your student information system, such as PowerSchool Infinite Campus, should be updated accordingly. Next slide, please. So as Sean mentioned earlier, this office hour session offers a brief overview of key topics, including the direct certification process. If you're new to the system or would like additional training, we strongly encourage you to view the recorded trainings available on our website. A slide at the end of this section will provide the details on how to access those resources. So with that, now let's move on to the two processes used to determine student eligibility. So households can qualify for free or reduced price meals in two ways. By submitting a free and reduced price meal application, which Eric is going to go over in detail here later on, or through direct certification. And so direct certification automatically qualifies students based on participation in programs like SNAP, TANF, or Medicaid. And it's important to note that Medicaid-based eligibility, such as Medicaid free or Medicaid reduced, is only available through the direct certification method. Next slide, please. So this slide just offers a simplified flow chart of the direct certification process. So the first step, SFAs must ensure all student records are current for school year 25-26 by updating advisor person ID or uploading the enrollment files into the CMP system. After doing so, then the qualified students that participate in programs like SNAP, TANF, Medicaid will then appear in the DHHS or NDE databases once records are up to date. The DC system then runs nightly to identify 100% matches, and these are matched to student's name, date of birth, gender, and NDE student ID. between those student records and the DHHS or NDE databases. So once those matches have correlated with the DHHS or NDE databases, then those matched students appear the next day and are automatically eligible for free or reduced price meals, and no further paperwork is needed. Next slide, please. So to help you manage upcoming tasks for successful student matching, we've included some key timelines. So for non-public school food authorities, you can begin using the updated student records via Advisor Person ID, and this started on June 1st. Or you can use the second option and upload files into the CMP DC Enrollment tab or Direct Certification Enrollment tab for matching. And this was available on July 1st. So both of those dates are now passed. So you can go ahead and upload either into Advisor Person ID or into CMP at any time. And non-publics should continue uploading their updated rosters regularly from July through June as the system runs nightly for matching. So keeping enrollment data current ensures that you have timely and accurate matches. Next slide, please. Then for public school food authorities, the timeline for updating student records through Advisor or uploading enrollment files in CMP is the same as non-publics with those June and July dates. Of course, you can begin doing that at any time. However, the difference is from July 1st to September 14th, public SFAs must manually upload into Person ID or the Direct Certification tab. And then starting on September 15th, the Advisor system will automatically interface with your student information system, and updates made in your student information system will be reflected in the Direct Certification system for matching. So the only exception here would be for your new students, new to Nebraska, who need the NDE student ID, then this must still be created manually in Person ID. But for students that are maybe transferring out or no longer attending, those updates can be made in your student information system and will be processed accordingly. Next slide, please. So to access the Direct Certification system, you're going to log into CMP, and then you'll click Applications in the top dark blue bar there. You can see in the left-hand corner the applications as outlined in red. After selecting that, you're going to select the Direct Certification, Direct Verification, also highlighted in red on the slide. And it will take you to the next page where you will click the same option again to reach the Direct Certification homepage. And that's on the next slide. So this is what your Direct Certification home screen will look like. And then from this screen, you can now access your enrollment, your match list, and other specific functions. Today, we're really going to just touch on your enrollment and accessing the match list. If you're wanting more information on all of those other specific functions on this slide, then again, please look back at our recorded trainings. Next slide. So again, our focus here will be the orange enrollment tile. This option is available for both public and non-public entities. And to update student records and ensure students appear on your match list, a designated template is required for this process. And we are going to review that in detail here on the next slide. So once we've selected that orange enrollment tab, the screen you'll see initially will present options to submit the student enrollment either through the Excel template or by individual student. We're going to go ahead and walk through submitting enrollment via that Excel spreadsheet to ensure a smooth and successful upload. So the required template is available here under the enrollment tile and is shown on the screen there in the top left-hand corner. You can see the red arrow pointing to the link. You're going to simply select the link, and by doing so, will open a separate Excel file on your computer, which you can then use and start adding your student data. Please do not create your own spreadsheet. This will cause an error with your upload. You must use the Excel template provided on the enrollment tab. And then once you've opened that, you'll see there on the bottom screenshot of what that Excel spreadsheet looks like and all of the required columns that must be filled out. And so starting with the school building number, that's column number 1. This is going to be a numeric 3-digit number that is the school building associated with the student per advisor person ID. So if you're unsure of how to locate that number, please refer to person ID. Again, this will always be 3 digits. So for example, if your school building number is 1, you would need to enter it as 001. You may experience an issue with your upload if you're entering anything outside of those 3 digits. And then the local student ID is the second column. This is the only column that is not required, but you can include it if there are IDs used specific to your school district. If you do not have a local ID, you can keep this column blank. This is the only column that can be left blank and should never be deleted from your spreadsheet. So even if you don't have that local student ID, please keep that column there when you upload it. Then the third column is the NDE student ID. So each student must have a unique 10-digit NDE ID for accurate matching and tracking. This is assigned through the person ID system. And if you have any missing or duplicate IDs, when you go to upload your document, it will cause an upload error. So what happens if your student doesn't have an NDE ID yet? You have 2 options here. You can either wait until you have all of your students and all IDs for your students and that they're ready to go, and you can upload the spreadsheet then. Or you can remove those students that do not have IDs. You can upload the students that do, and then you can upload those that do not at a later time. You can either upload them individually, or you can put another spreadsheet together with those students and upload it that way. Just remember to not upload, if you've already uploaded some students successfully, don't include them in your spreadsheet. Otherwise, it will create duplicates on your list. And then be sure to not leave any blanks in your rows, or hiding rows and trying to submit will also cause errors. So if you have blanks or you need to remove a student, go ahead and delete the entire row. Any incomplete data will prevent you from having a successful upload. And then column 4 and 5 are the students' first and last names, which must be uploaded. This may seem pretty straightforward, but names can often present challenges. When uploading this file, be sure to avoid using any nicknames. The student's name must match exactly what is listed in the person ID system. This is especially critical for any hyphenated names or last names that include multiple words. Accuracy here ensures consistency with your advisor person ID system. Then student gender must be entered as M or F. If you type out male or female, this will cause an error with your upload. So just be sure that you're entering only the letters M or F. And then the student's birth date is the last column, and this is entered alphanumeric. There are 2 different formatting options. You can either put the year first or the year at the end, but the file will require you to enter the birth date in one of those 2 options. So once we've completed our upload, you can go ahead and confirm it was successful by scrolling down to the Submitted Student Enrollment Records section with the Enrollment tab. And here the student records will appear exactly as entered into your spreadsheet. Keep in mind that the larger files may take up to 5 minutes to process. If the records don't show up immediately, you can try clicking refresh or logging out and logging back into the system. Once that data appears, you'll want to verify the number of records matches your enrollment list to ensure everything uploaded correctly. So on the screenshot on this slide, you can see under the submitted student enrollment records, it's showing 1 through 15 of 130 results. So 130 results should match 130 students that we've uploaded. So just pay attention to that number. If it's not matching the number of students that you have on your roster, you'll need to determine where the error occurred and correct that and upload the rest of your students. Next slide, please. So you'll want to watch for errors when uploading your enrollment data. And on this slide, we try to provide some of the common errors that you may receive. So that top screenshot, you may receive a message at the top of your screen that states you have not uploaded any data for certain buildings. You can go ahead and ignore this as long as you see that all of your students have been successfully uploaded and that they are listed under the submitted student enrollment records section. You might see enrollment errors highlighted in orange there on the second screenshot. This one has highlighted an all zero NDE ID, which would need corrected. So if you have maybe multiple students that have this error, you can filter those out by selecting the display only errors button. And then you can go ahead and upload a new spreadsheet once those students have been corrected. So you can upload multiple files as needed. For example, if you upload a large file of 6,000 students and maybe 100 records have errors, you could create a new file with just those corrected entries and upload that. Again, do not re-upload your full enrollment list as this will create duplicates. And then a few other additional tips. If you see a yellow error message, it may be due to the file type, formatting, or a temporary internet issue. We encourage you to try uploading again to see if it works. If the problem persists, you can always contact our team for help. You'll also want to verify all of your records. So even if the upload appears successful, confirm that all students are listed, including those who may not qualify for benefits. Again, check the total number of records in the submitted student enrollment records section. The bottom of that slide shows the number, and that should be equal to the number of students that you've uploaded. So as I discussed on the previous slide, this is showing 1 through 15 of 43,851 results. So that number should match your enrollment list. And again, if you continue to have issues with your upload and you just can't get those students to show up under the submitted student enrollment records section, always reach out to our staff so we can fix that error and get your match list up to date. Next slide, please. We've included a helpful guide in your packet, and this covers everything from formatting requirements to step-by-step instructions for the upload process. Additionally, our email address is provided at the bottom of the slide in the blue box. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out. So once we've successfully uploaded our student enrollment, we're now going to look at our match list. So the match list shows the students who qualify for free or reduced benefits. If a student appears on the match list, no further action is required for them to receive these benefits. And it is important to note that once a student is on the match list, their eligibility remains valid throughout the entire school year and into the carryover period, regardless of any changes in their circumstances. So if a student is listed as a foster student in August, but is later adopted in December, their benefits will continue through the school year and then into that carryover period. Similarly, if a household qualifies for SNAP, maybe in October, but no longer qualifies in March, the student remains eligible from the date they appeared on the match list throughout the rest of the year and into the carryover. So we rarely have students that fall off from the match list or no longer appear on the match list during the middle of the year, but it has happened. And so it's always a good idea to print or save your list periodically throughout the year, just to ensure that you're tracking all students and you have documentation of those that maybe showed up and then no longer show up during mid-year. The matching process runs nightly, and you can see the most recent matching date for your district in the bottom right-hand corner of that green match list tile, and it's circled in red here on the slide for reference. Next slide, please. So to view matches from a specific start date, you can begin by using the date filter to narrow your search window. You can organize the results by selecting sortable headers like the name or date. depending on what information you're looking for. It's important to understand that the direct certification period begins the 1st of July. And so if your selected range does not include this start date, you may miss some matches that should be included in your report. So to avoid this, make sure your search dates span from the 1st of July through the current date. And alternatively, to bypass manual date selection and capture all relevant data, you can choose the search all dates, and that is circled in green there at the top. That tile ensures that the full match list of all directly certified students will be visible regardless of the certification time frame. So by following these steps, you ensure accurate data retrieval and full visibility of the student certifications during the reporting period. You can export the match list to Excel for easier tracking and printing, especially recommended since the print list feature is currently not functioning. It's a good practice to regularly save or print the list as new matches are added to ensure you maintain up-to-date records. And each entry includes the match date and the associated qualifying program. This match list serves as a valuable resource for efficiently tracking and managing student benefit eligibility throughout the certification period. Next slide, please. So students may qualify for direct certification through one of 8 programs. Most of these, like SNAP, TANF, and FDPIR, extend benefits to other students in the same household. So if one child qualifies, their siblings are also eligible. However, foster, migrant, and homeless programs are student-specific, and these do not offer extended benefits. So please note on this chart that foster, migrant, and homeless, those are circled no, because they do not extend to the rest of the household. Again, they're student specific. Medicaid Reduced is the only program that provides reduced price meals, while all others programs grant free meals. And students are always matched to the highest priority program. So for example, if they qualify for both FDPIR and SNAP, they'll be matched under SNAP. And benefits can improve during the year, but never decrease. If a student qualifies for reduced Medicaid early in the year and then SNAP later, their status is upgraded to free meals. And once determined, these benefits last through the school year and into the carryover period. Extended benefits also apply during carryover. For instance, if an older sibling qualifies for free meals this year, a younger sibling starting school next fall will also receive those same benefits. Some commonly asked questions regarding household extension and carryover. If family A and family B are residing together, do all students receive meal benefits? The answer to this is yes. If the two families are a single economic unit, so they are sharing the cost of household expenses like rent and utilities, families do not have to be related to be considered a household. Second question, does carryover exist for extended benefits? Again, yes, categorical eligibility must be extended to newly enrolled siblings residing in the same household, except for foster, migrant, and homeless benefits. Those are student specific and do not extend. And third question, do I need to save a list of students with extended benefits? Again, yes, your district must be able to link to the students in the household that are on the direct certification list. So be sure to print or save the match list and manually add those students to the list if they cannot be added into CMP or they're not showing up on the direct certification list. Next slide, please. So once a student appears on the direct certification list, your next steps are pretty straightforward. First, you're going to notify the household using the notice of approval or denial letter. This is attachment D, which is updated annually and available on our nutrition services website. You can populate the form with the necessary details specific to your school district and then send it to all students who qualify for the direct certification. The second step is to retain a copy of the letter for your records as proof of notification. The letter informs households that no further application is needed and confirms eligibility through direct certification. It also reassures families that benefits are valid for the current school year and the first 30 operating days of the next school year, or that carryover period. The only exception to this is for students listed as Medicaid reduced or directly certified as Medicaid reduced. In this case, households may submit an income application if they believe they would qualify for free meals based on their household size and income. Next slide, please. Again, this was a very brief overview for operating the direct certification system. To explore the NDE's direct certification system in more depth, be sure to view our DC training webinar in the 2025 Bookkeeper Update recording. These resources offer practical guidance and valuable insights to support your understanding. And for easy access, links to both trainings are conveniently located at the bottom of this slide. And as always, if you have additional questions or concerns, please reach out to us at any time. And then I believe I am turning it over to Erica to discuss meal applications.
Thanks, Aspen. Well, Aspen just covered the first method for determining student eligibility for free and reduced price meals, which was the direct certification process. Now we're going to shift to the second method of determining eligibility when a household submits a free and reduced priced meal application. So there are two ways a household can qualify through this process. The first one is income eligibility, and that's based on the household size and income as reported on the application. And then the second is through categorical eligibility. So some students are automatically eligible for free meals without needing to report their household income. So this applies to students who participate in certain federal assistance programs or have specific circumstances such as being foster children, homeless, migrant, or part of Head Start. In these cases, schools can approve free meal benefits without verifying income because the student's situation or program participation already qualifies them. As we prepare for the upcoming school year, I want to highlight where you can find the updated forms needed for processing free and reduced price meal applications. So all forms for the school year 25-26 have been updated and are now posted on the NDE Nutrition Services website. To access them, you can go to the School Meals Program section on the left side of the Nutrition Services homepage. You'll then click on Forms and Resources. From there, you'll select Applications, Income Eligibility, and this will bring you to the section containing attachments A through L. So here, the key updated documents you'll find here are, you can see on the screen, Attachment A, the Income Eligibility Guidelines, Attachment B, which is the template letter to households, Attachment C is the meal application itself, Attachment D is the approval or denial letter, and Attachment D3 is the notice of change of benefits. We also have attachments L and L1, which are sharing information waivers. So these forms are available in a Word format, which means you can customize them by inserting your school's name, adding the date or any other local information. And this handout in your handout packet is on page 6 or 7. So that includes a direct link to attachments A through L and screenshots showing you exactly how to get there if you need to reference that after the training. I also want to point out that Nutrition Services offers Spanish translations of several key forms. These are available on the same website we just discussed, and the specific location is listed here on the slide for your reference. In addition to Spanish, the USDA offers the free and reduced priced meal application in many different languages, and these are available to help ensure that all households can access and understand the application process regardless of their primary language. So be sure to utilize these resources to help support your diverse school communities. Up next, we're going to talk about Attachment C, the school year 25-26 free and reduced price meal application. A few important points about this application are: one, it can be distributed to households either by mail, email, or included in a back-to-school packet starting on or after July 1st of the current school year. So we're past that date, so you can send these out at any time if you have not already done so. Schools cannot require households to complete either a paper or an online application. Completion of the application does need to be voluntary. You can encourage them to turn them in, but you can't require a household to turn in a meal application. If a household is directly certified, they do not need to complete an application. The only exception to this would be if the student is directly certified as Medicaid reduced, and the household's applying by paper application for free meal benefits. So in that case, you would give the student the greater meal benefit if they were approved for free meal benefits by a paper application. If a student does not appear on the direct certification list, then households must be provided with the following documents. So the first one is Attachment B, the letter to household with instructions. Attachment C, the free and reduced priced meal application. And then there are some optional forms you may want to include. Attachment E is for self-employed individuals, so that helps determine the income for self-employed individuals. Attachment L, the sharing of information waiver, and Attachment L1 is the sharing information waiver with Medicaid. Please remember that these forms are updated annually, so always be sure you're using the most current versions. Like I said, you are allowed to add your school's contact information, fill in any fillable portions, and customize the programs listed on Attachment L to match what's offered at your school. However, it's important that you do not edit any of the core content of the forms. Once submitted, a school official must review the meal application to verify it's complete and the information is accurate. The following information is required information on the application, and if any of the information listed here is missing, that information must be obtained before the application can be approved or denied. Income-based applications, these require a little bit more information. So these require the last 4 digits of the Social Security number or the box, no Social Security number box marked. So they can check that, indicating they don't have a Social Security number. The current household income and the frequency and source of that income. A list of all household members, including the child or the student in which they're applying for benefits, and then the signature of the adult household member completing the form. For categorical applications to be complete, these applications must include the names of the children that they're applying for benefits for, a valid case number, or an indication of status such as foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway, and then the signature of the adult household member who's completing the form. When processing applications, you'll want to date stamp the application on the day it is received. This date can then be used to determine when eligibility can begin. Applications must be processed and families notified of the eligibility determination within 10 operating days of receipt. So this timeline applies to when school is in session. Applications may be approved based solely on the information submitted by the household. We don't want you to add or assume any information that was not provided. However, if there is any information that is missing or unclear, you do want to follow up with the household and be sure to document what information was received, the date it was received, and who took that information, so who received it. All documentation should be noted directly on the application. For income applications, the official designation to make eligibility, so for income applications, the official designated to make eligibility determinations compares the total gross income and household size on the application to the free and reduced priced income guidelines. So for the purposes of our application process, we define income to be gross income before any deductions such as taxes, Social Security taxes, insurance premiums, charitable contributions, and bonds. And we define household as a group of related or non-related people living under one roof as one economic unit.
It's P, and then it's ATK. E.
Can everyone please mute if you are unmuted? When reviewing an income-based application, use Attachment A, Income Eligibility Guidelines, to determine if a household qualifies for free or reduced priced meal benefits. The income guidelines have been updated for school year 25-26, and those went into effect on July 1st. Make sure that if you use a software program to approve meal applications, the income guidelines have been updated in that software system and are also correct. This document is included in your handouts on page 8. The income limits are listed by different time periods, so annually, monthly, twice per month, every 2 weeks, and weekly. Make sure you're comparing household income to the correct frequency. Families may qualify for free or reduced price meals if their income is at or below the levels shown. It's important to note that Attachment A is not to be shared with households. It's an internal tool for school use only. Households will see an income chart on page 2 of the meal application. The chart reflects the reduced price guidelines on that page 2 of their application.
All right. Okay. I sure will. Thank you, Mindy. Bye-bye.
Households can report income in any increment. So like I said, they can report it as annually, monthly, twice per month, every 2 weeks, and weekly. If multiple frequencies of income are reported, you'll want to convert all income to an annual amount. However, if households report a single frequency of income, then no conversion is required, so you do not have to convert to the annual income. And to do this, you don't have to do that. That does limit the potential for math errors. In the next few slides, we're going to review some examples of how to do this. So in your handout packet on page 9, you'll see your first example of an income application. So you can follow along with your materials. You'll also want to have out Attachment A, the income guidelines, which is located on page 8 of the packet. So your example is on page 9. The income guidelines are on page 8 of your handout packet. So let's begin with this first example, which features an application where a single income frequency has been reported. When reviewing any application, it's essential to verify that all required sections are completed properly before determining eligibility. A complete income application includes the names of the students applying for benefits, the names of all household members, the current income for each household member. In addition, the application must include the signature of an adult household member and the last 4 digits of the Social Security number or a check mark in the box indicating that there's no Social Security number. Now, looking at our example, the children's names are listed at the top of the application, highlighted in the red box. In Part 3 of the application, the household members are listed in the yellow box, and the household size is reported as 5. Income has been listed for both John Wright and Mary Wright in the green box under Earnings from Work. And remember, Part 3 instructs families to report their gross income. That's income before taxes and deductions. The application is signed by Mary, as shown in the blue box, and she's included the last 4 digits of her Social Security number in the orange box. Finally, in the top right corner, you'll notice that the school has date stamped the application to document the date it was received. This example demonstrates a properly completed application using a single income frequency, meaning no income conversion is necessary. So as shown in this example, the household has reported a single frequency of income, which is monthly, for both of the income earners. When a single frequency is used, no income conversion is required. In this case, both John Wright and Mary Wright listed their incomes as monthly, so we simply add the 2 amounts together to get the total monthly household income. The total reported income is $2,500 per month for a household of 5. Using Attachment A, the income guidelines, we find the income limit for free meals based on monthly income and a household size of 5. Since $2,500 per month is at or below the income limit for free meals, the household qualifies for free meal benefits. Now let's focus on the role of the determining official and the importance of completing the bottom portion of the application accurately. The determining official is responsible for fully reviewing each application, making a determination to approve, deny, or request more information, and signing and dating the application. In this example, if we drop down to the bottom portion of the application, we see that the household size has been correctly recorded as 5, and the total income and income frequency, in this case monthly, are clearly noted. The application has been marked as eligible for free meals based on income. You'll also see the determining official has signed and dated the application, which is a required step. Keep in mind, if the application was not date stamped at the time of receipt, the approval date becomes the date that the eligibility is effective. So that's why it's essential to include a complete month, day, and year. This date also serves as evidence that the application was processed within the required 10-day time period. Let's move on to example 2, which features an income application where multiple income frequencies have been reported. This type of application requires income conversion before a determination can be made. As a reminder, the information shown on this slide, just like in example 1, must be complete before the application can be approved. So looking at this example, the children's names are listed at the top of the application, shown in the red box. In Part 3, all household members have been listed in the yellow box. In the green box, we see the income details. Mary Smith reports earning $1,200 per month, and she also receives $100 per week in public assistance, child support, or alimony. And George Smith has reported $10,000 per year in pensions, retirement, and all other income. Because multiple frequencies are used, monthly, weekly, and annually, then we must convert all reported income to an annual amount using the standard conversion factors before determining eligibility. At the bottom of the application, George Smith has signed the form and reported the last 4 digits of his Social Security number, meeting the signature requirement. When an application includes multiple income frequencies, like we see in this example, We must convert all income to an annual amount before determining eligibility. This is an important step to ensure consistency and accuracy when comparing the household's income to the income eligibility guidelines. So you'll use the following standard income conversion factors: monthly income times 12, weekly income times 52, every 2 weeks times 26, and twice per month times 24. In this case, we are reviewing an application for a household size of 4. To make this determination, we first need to calculate the total annual household income. So for Mary Smith, we convert both income sources, the $1,200 per month times 12, which gives us $14,400 per year, the $100 per week times 52, which gives us $5,200 per year. And then we add in George Smith's reported $10,000 per year, which is already reported on an annual basis. So that gives us a total household income of $29,600. With this amount, we can now refer to the annual income column on attachment A for a household size of 4 to determine whether the household qualifies for free or reduced price meals. Since $29,600 is under the free income guideline limits for a household of 4, the household qualifies for free meals. The determining official has completed the bottom portion of the application. In this example, they've recorded the total household as a size of 4. They've calculated and entered the annual household income as $29,600 and marked that that's per year. They've marked that the household qualifies for free meals based on income. And importantly, they have signed and dated the application, fulfilling all the required steps. I've also highlighted here in the red box where you can find the income conversion section on the application. So this is a helpful reference when you're working with multiple income frequencies like we did in this example. It helps you ensure that the correct conversion factors are applied when calculating total annual income. Let's now discuss how to calculate income for self-employed individuals, using George Smith from our previous example as our reference. When households report self-employment income, schools must use specific lines from the first page of the IRS 1040 tax return and Schedule 1 to determine total income. It's important to note you can calculate self-employment income by subtracting losses from income. If the result is a negative number, it must be reported as 0 in the column labeled All Other Income on the meal application. A reported income of 0 from self-employment does not require follow-up from the school. So now let's look at our examples. So in this example, George Smith reports a business income of $25,000, and these are located on in your handout on pages 11 through 13 if you want to follow along. So you can see he's reported a business income of $25,000, and then he has also reported a farm loss of $15,000. So we subtract the farm loss from the business income, and his total self-employment income is $10,000. We've included a sample of the 1040 and the Schedule 1 in your handout packet, so you can see exactly where these numbers come from on a tax return. So this helps ensure you're referencing the correct lines when reviewing self-employment income. And a final reminder, income reported under wages, salaries, and tips or adjusted gross income on the 1040 should not be used to determine the annual household income for meal eligibility. Only the individual sources of income and losses listed in the appropriate sections should be considered. And those are on attachment E, that optional form that you can send to households. Our next example is an application where the household reports no income or $0 of income. It's important to understand that families can report zero income, and if the application is otherwise complete, the household can be approved for free meals for the remainder of the school year, and no follow-up is required on your part as the school. That being said, if a family is withdrawing money from savings or receiving financial assistance from others, they should report those amounts as their source of income. In that case, the household would be evaluated based on the amount that they report for those. But looking at this example, Ben Jones is listed at the top of the application for the children in the school. In Part 3, Sarah and Ben are listed as the household members. No income is reported for either household member. Sarah has reported $0 for income. The application is complete because Sarah has signed the application, and she's also reported the last 4 digits of her Social Security number, meeting the signature requirement. So because no income is reported and all required sections are complete, this application can be approved for free meals. On the bottom portion of the application, as the determining official, you would document a household size of 2 and list the total income as 0. Then mark the box indicating that Ben qualifies for free meals based on household size and income. Because this is a valid zero income application and all required fields are complete, no additional follow-up is necessary with the household. We can see also here the determining official has signed and dated the application. Next, we will review some examples of approving categorical applications. These applications require less information than income applications. Specifically, though, they must include the child's name, the case number for SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR benefits, or an indication of status, such as homeless, migrant, or runaway, and the signature of the adult household member completing the application. If a household qualifies for SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, TANF, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or FDPIR, the Food Distribution Program on Indian reservations, they must provide their household's master case number on the application. There's a single box on the application where this number is reported. You should expect to see a number between 5 to 9 digits, most commonly 6 digits, but if the number has more than 6 digits, it's usually because the household has included leading zeros before their actual number. Households reporting a valid case number automatically qualify for free meals. And by valid case number, I just mean that they've reported the 5 to 9 digit number. Importantly, all children in the household are eligible for free meals based on any household member's receipt of SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR. So just like with direct certification, if anyone in the household is receiving SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR, those benefits extend to all household members. So let's look at an example of this. Our next example shows a complete application with a master case number. A complete application of this type includes the student's name, the household's master case number for SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR, and the signature of the adult household member. Looking at this example, Justin Brown is listed at the top, highlighted in the red box. In Part 2, the master case number is entered in the yellow box. In Part 4, Sue Brown has signed the application shown in the blue box, and she's not required to list the last 4 digits of her Social Security number. So an important point here is that in Part 2, we do not want to accept the following as a master case number. We don't want to accept an individual's Social Security number. So if it is in that format, you wouldn't be able to accept that. A Medicaid number. Remember, households qualify through Medicaid only via the district's direct certification list. So that's the only way a household can qualify for free or reduced priced meals through Medicaid. That would be through the direct certification list. They cannot list a Medicaid number on their application. And EBT numbers do not accept an EBT number, and EBT stands for Electronic Benefits Transfer, which is the card used to purchase food with SNAP benefits. So if any of these three numbers are entered as a master case number and you approve it, that would cause an error during an administrative review. So you would need to deny that application or follow up with the household for more information about the master case number. With direct certification now in place, the number of applications received with a master case number has decreased significantly. However, such applications do still occur, and it is acceptable to approve them even if they aren't listed on your direct certification list. Let's take a look at the bottom portion of this application. So with the master case number, Justin automatically qualifies for free meals. So the boxes for free have been marked, and categorical eligible and SNAP, TANF, and FDPIR have all been marked. And then the determining official just has to sign and date the application. The next category we'll cover is processing applications that include foster children. A foster child is defined as one whose care and placement is the responsibility of the state, or who has been placed by a court with a caretaker household. This definition does not include informal arrangements made outside of the court system. When reviewing an application with foster children, keep in mind that foster children automatically qualify for free meals, and no additional documentation is required to verify their eligibility. However, eligibility for other children in the household is determined based on household size and income, including any personal use income the foster child may receive. As a result, the other children in the household may qualify for free meals, reduced price meals, or they may not qualify for benefits at all, depending on the household size and income. So it's important to note that foster care payments received by the household for the child's care are not counted as income. In the next three examples, we're going to go over approving applications that include foster children. In this first example, we have an application submitted for a foster child only. So a complete application in this case, you can find on handout page 16 in your handout packet. And a complete application for a foster child includes the student's name, the box checked to indicate the child is a foster child, as shown here in the yellow box, the signature of the adult household member, and the last four digits of the Social Security number are not required when applying for a foster child. As a reminder, foster children automatically qualify for free meals. In this example, Jesse Martin is listed at the top of the application. The foster child box has been correctly checked, and Phyllis Miller has signed the application. So this is a complete application for a foster child only in the household. On the bottom portion, since foster children automatically qualify for free meals and no additional documentation is required to confirm their eligibility, then you can just mark that they are free, categorically eligible, and mark the foster child box. And then don't forget to also sign and date that the application to complete that approval process for the application. Example 6 is an income application that includes both foster and non-foster children. So a complete application of this type must include the names of all children in the school, a checked box identifying each foster child, current income for each household member, including any personal use income the foster child may receive. The application must also include the signature of an adult household member, the last four digits of their Social Security number, or the box marked no Social Security number. Although foster children automatically qualify for free meals, that benefit does not automatically extend to other children in the household. So their eligibility is based on household size and income. In this example, which you can find on handout page 17, all children are listed at the top of the application. Chris Nelson has been marked as the foster child. And in part 3, all household members are listed, and Gary and Denise Peters have reported their income as earnings from work. Denise signed the application and provided the last 4 digits of her Social Security number, completing the application. To approve this application, the determining official has recorded a household size of 5, which includes the foster child. The total household income is $1,200 every 2 weeks. Using the income eligibility guidelines chart, we locate the row for a household of 5 and slide across to the every 2 weeks column. Since $1,200 is less than the $1,883 threshold, all children in the household qualify for free meals. In the bottom portion of the application, you would then fill this out by marking the free box, and then you're going to mark both the income and the categorically eligible boxes. You will mark the foster child box for the foster child and the income box for the remaining children in the family. And then once again, just don't forget to sign and date that with the month, day, and year to complete the approval process. In example 7, which is on handout page 18, we are reviewing an income application that includes both foster children and non-foster children with different eligibility outcomes. So at the top of the application, all children have been listed. Kristen Thomas is identified as the foster child in the household. In part 3, all household members are listed and the income has been reported for Steve and Debbie Matthews. Steve Matthews has signed the application and provided the last 4 digits of his Social Security number. So this example just highlights a key point that while foster children automatically qualify for free meals, the non-foster children in the same household must be evaluated separately based on household size and income. Because when we look at this application to approve this application, you would record a household size of 6 with a total monthly income of $5,200. So referring to the income eligibility guideline chart for a household size of 6, you're going to see the free meal, the guidelines, the limits for that for free meals is $4,675 per month. So this household does not qualify for free meals based on income. However, if you continue across to the reduced price column, we see that the reduced price limits are $6,653 per month for a household of 6. So since the $5,200 is below that threshold, the household does qualify for reduced price meals. The remaining children in the household qualify for reduced price meals. So since this application includes both a foster child and a non-foster children, Kristen, the foster child, automatically qualifies for free meals, and then the 3 Matthews children qualify for reduced priced meals based on household size and income. As you can see, the bottom portion of the application, in the bottom portion, these determinations have been clearly recorded. It's important to note that it is acceptable to have multiple eligibility outcomes on a single application like we do here. So the application has been signed and dated, and they have marked the free, categorically eligible, and the foster box for the 1 foster child, and then reduced income for the 3 children that are qualifying based on household size and income. Now, let's take a closer look at a categorical eligibility based on other qualifying programs, specifically homeless, migrant, and runaway status. Children who qualify under one of these programs are eligible for free meals. However, their eligibility must be supported by appropriate documentation. So, to approve a child under these categories, the district must have documentation on file. An acceptable documentation would include information provided by a migrant coordinator or the district's homeless or runaway liaison. If the homeless, migrant, or runaway boxes are checked on the application, you must confirm the status for each individual child before providing meal benefits and ensure that the proper documentation is on file. Just like with foster children, this eligibility does not extend to other children in the household. So if there are other children in the household can go ahead and submit an income application for those children, and their eligibility will be determined based on household size and income. They could be listed all on one application like we just reviewed with the foster examples as well. Required documentation, for homeless would be, like I said, confirmation by your homeless liaison or your migrant coordinator at your district. So you'll want to find out who those people are at your district. Let's talk about Head Start as another form of categorical eligibility for free meals. Children who are enrolled in Head Start automatically qualify for free meal benefits. However, there are a few important things to keep in mind when certifying these students. Enrollment in Head Start does not need to be listed on the household application for the child to be eligible. There's not a box to mark for that like there is for foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway. But a child participating in Head Start is not determined eligible for free benefits until the LEA or you at the school documents that the child's status with the Head Start program officials. So a list of participants provided and signed by a Head Start official would be the required documentation. This documentation must be kept on file by the school or district, and eligibility should only be approved after the child's enrollment has been confirmed by the program officials. As with other categorical eligibility, this eligibility is specific to that Head Start child, so it's specific to the child enrolled in Head Start and does not extend to other children in the household. And our last example is in your handout packet on page 19. The last example is an example of a denied application. In this case, the household reports a household size of 5 with a total monthly income of $7,500 per month. If we compare this to the income eligibility guidelines, we see that the limit for a household of 5 to qualify for reduced price meals is $5,805 per month. Since this household's income exceeds that limit, the application must be denied. On the bottom portion of the application, the determining official has marked that the application is denied and indicated the reason for denial as the income is too high. The other reason for denial would be an incomplete application. For example, maybe they're missing some income information or missing a signature, and you're not able to follow up and obtain that with the household, then you would have to deny it for being an incomplete application. Here are just a few important reminders about when applications can be submitted and how they are processed. So households may submit a meal application at any time during the school year. There is no deadline or limited window in which they can apply. They can apply whenever their circumstances change. Applications dated before July 1st cannot be accepted for the current school year. The new school year begins on July 1st for purposes of meal eligibility, so applications must be dated on or after that date. If a household submits a paper application, but the student is also listed on the direct certification or DC list as free, you must approve the student based on direct certification. Direct certification always takes precedence over a paper application when the benefit is the same or greater. A household that is directly certified as Medicaid reduced may submit a meal application if they believe they qualify for free meals instead of reduced price meals. In that case, the income application must be reviewed to determine if they meet the criteria for free eligibility. And then let's go over some important guidelines for organizing and storing your applications. Applications may be shared between SFAs or school food authorities, particularly in cases where students transfer between schools or districts. Eligibility determinations are valid for the entire school year. This is known as year-long eligibility, meaning once a household is approved, that status remains in place through the current school year and into the carryover period and process for the next school year. You must keep all applications received on file, whether they are approved or denied. Applications should be filed alphabetically within each approval category, so by free, reduced, and denied. And then applications for households that were directly certified should be filed separately from those approved by income or categorical eligibility. So if you receive an application from that family that is directly certified and the household's already approved for free meals, you don't necessarily need to process that application, but you can keep it on file and file it separately. This will be important when it comes time for verification and determining how many paper applications you have approved for free and reduced price meals, so your sample pool for applications. If a student withdraws from the district, you should record the withdrawal date on their application and then also file those applications separately as well. Maintaining organized, complete records helps ensure compliance with USDA requirements and ensures smooth preparation for any administrative reviews that you may have. Once an application has been reviewed, every household that submits an application must be notified in writing of the eligibility determination. So whether the child qualifies for free, reduced priced, or paid meals, they need to be notified in writing. To do this, you can use the Notice of Approval Denial Letter, which is Attachment D. This form can also be used for students who are directly certified, even though they didn't submit a meal application. On the side, you'll see an example of what this letter looks like. A few important reminders are that this notification is required for all meal applications and for all direct certification approvals. Be sure to retain copies of all notification letters, approval, and denial on site. These records do need to be made available during an administrative review. So keeping clear records of both the determination and the household notification ensures compliance and protects the integrity of your eligibility determinations. If you need to notify a household about a change to their meal benefits after you've processed their application, then you'll want to use attachment D3, the notice of change of benefits. So this form's used when the eligibility status changes after the original determination has already been made. Some common reasons benefits might change is maybe the family provides new or updated information that increases their eligibility. So for example, maybe now they qualify for free meals instead of reduced, or maybe there was an error in processing the original application. So either their benefits are increasing or decreasing if you find an error after you approve their application, at the beginning of the school year. So if the change results in a reduction or termination of benefits, you must provide the household with 10 calendar days written notice before the change goes into effect. This gives them time to appeal or provide additional information. If the change results in an increase in benefits, then that change can go into effect immediately. There's no waiting period required. Also, keep in mind the policy of year-long eligibility. So households are not required to report changes in income, household size, or program participation after their application has been approved. So this just helps ensure stability for the family and simplifies the administration of the program. The next couple of slides highlight a few key resources included in your handout packet that we want to draw your attention to. The first resource is found on page 20 of your application packet. It's the free and reduced price meal application approval checklist. This is a one-page summary that pulls together many of the important points we've discussed today regarding meal application approval. So it can serve as a helpful resource tool at your desk as you review and process applications, whether you're new to the process or just need a quick refresher throughout the school year. That's located on page 20 of your handout packet. And finally, the next handout is located on page 21 of your handout packet. It provides a side-by-side summary of the two main processes for determining free and reduced priced meal eligibility, direct certification, and the free and reduced priced meal application. So this summary is a helpful tool to compare both processes and reinforces the key steps involved in each. And remember, no matter which process is used, the final step is always to update your student's eligibility status in either your student information system or on your benefit issuance document. This ensures that the student receives the correct meal benefits and your records are accurate and up to date. Up next, I'll be turning it over to Sean to talk about the eligibility manual and how you can get some information about some of those more difficult maybe circumstances when you're approving applications.
Thank you, Erica. I know many of you have asked some questions, and hopefully referring to the USDA Eligibility Manual will help you with answering your questions now and in the future as we proceed through approving applications. So let's talk about the USDA eligibility manuals for school meals. And the most current edition is July 18th, 2017, and it contains a wealth of information. It is divided into 6 sections, and we are going to do a brief review of each of those sections, and I want to highlight some important things found in each section. So the first is getting started. The second is the basis of eligibility. The third is establishing eligibility. The fourth is the school meals application. 5 covers confidentiality and disclosure. And the 6th category is the process of verification. So let's go ahead and get started with section 1. Erica, would you like to go to the next slide? Section 1, getting started. The key requirements in this section include all schools participating in the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program must make free and reduced price meals available to all eligible children. And we've cited the Code of Federal Regulations that dictates that this requirement is met. Each school district must have a policy statement, and it must have an approved free and reduced price policy statement on file. Your district's or SFA's permanent agreement that you have signed with the Department of Education Nutrition Services has the policy statement contained in it. And it was a couple of years ago that you were required to sign, or your district was required to sign the policy statement. This is not an annual requirement. It is only when it is distributed to districts for review and signature that states that you will follow all of the rules and regulations of the school meals program. And this is required by the Code of Federal Regulations. Another requirement of the Code of Federal Regulations is there must be a public release of information regarding the availability of free and reduced price meals and free milk. This release is issued by the state agency. So our office distributes that release to newspapers, televisions. It's released throughout the state, and we do that on behalf of all of our SFA school food authorities in the state. So that's included under key requirements. So that's taken care of for you. And then another requirement is that you must ensure equal access to all, which includes any students with disabilities and those households that have limited English proficiency in the application process. So that might include providing an interpreter, for households to have access to for the completion of the application. But that is also in the Code of Federal Regulations and also in a policy memo. So must ensure that all of our districts, our SFAs, are providing that service to their households and to their students. Moving on. Section 2, the basis of eligibility. And the manual does a great job in those special situations that come up in determining household composition. And as we've already talked about throughout this presentation, household composition is based on an economic unit. An economic unit is a group of related or unrelated individuals who are living as one economic unit. And that means they're sharing housing, income, and expenses. And so as we look at the slide, we can look at adopted children for whom a household has accepted legal responsibility. They are considered to be a member of the household. And if the household receives an assistance payment or a subsidy for the adoption, which is very typical, then that assistance payment or subsidy is included as income. So I know it was said that sometimes households think that they were told maybe that their adopted child continues to receive free benefits after the adoption. That is untrue. The only way they would qualify for continued free benefits would be if they're on the direct certification list or the household has completed an application with household size and income. So I think we've addressed that question. But once again, we talked about year-long eligibility. So if the child has been adopted during a school year, their benefit for free benefits based on maybe being a foster child would continue with them through the school year and up to the 30 operating days into the next school year. The next one is a child residing in an institution or a residential child care institution. And a child who is a resident of a non-participating institution and attends a participating school during the week, or a child who resides at a participating residential care institution is considered a household of one. And so either the institution would complete an application for that individual child and list that child's on the application with their personal use income, or the institution or residential child care would submit a list of students residing at the institution, and then each individual student's personal use income, and that would be how they would be eligible for continued free benefits. A child away at school. And so this question often comes up, that households list their students that are attending college on the application. They're temporarily away at school, such as attending a boarding school or college. They are included as a member of the household. So I think we've addressed that. And we'll move on to the next slide where we continue section 2. The basis of eligibility, a child living with one parent, relative, or friend. In cases where the child is living with one parent, a relative, or a friend, the child is considered to be a member of the household with whom the child resides. So children of divorced or separated parents are considered part of the household with custody. And then we go on to the next example where it talks about families with joint custody. In joint custody situations, the child may physically change residences regularly. If both parent guardians apply for meal benefits with the same local educational agency, but the eligibility determination is different, the greater benefit level is used. So keep that in mind. And then we want to also talk about families with joint custody. If they are directly certified for benefits, then that eligibility also resides with the child and can be extended to the household members in each separate household. Foreign exchange students, that's another question that often comes up. A foreign exchange student is considered to be a member of the household, a member of the host household in which the foreign exchange student resides. And so their eligibility would be based on the household where they reside. So either income-based or direct certification-based, but they're not automatically eligible for free meal benefits. Their eligibility is determined by the household. Next slide. Determining household reportable income. Income is any money before deductions received on a reoccurring basis, including earnings from pensions, child or spousal support, unless an income source is specifically excluded as referenced in the manual as an income exclusion. So that is all listed in the eligibility manual. Gross income, earned income means all money earned before deductions, such as income taxes, employee Social Security taxes, insurance, and other deductions. So what the household submits on the application needs to be gross earned income. Net income from self-owned businesses, including farming or farms. Erica reviewed attachment E and what lines of the income tax form are used in determining self-employed income. And then child income. This one comes up quite a bit as well. A child income is included on the application if the child or student, regardless of age, has a full-time or regular part-time job. infrequent earnings such as babysitting, mowing lawns, or working only during the summer break is not included as income on the application form. Next slide. Establishing eligibility, key points. We've talked a lot about carryover of eligibility. Carryover of eligibility for up to 30 operating days into the new school year or until a new eligibility determination is made, whichever comes first. So you don't automatically just let the household have 30 days of carryover. It's when a new determination is made. So perhaps they appear on the direct certification list as free on the 5th operating day of school. That's a new determination of eligibility. Or they submit an application and they were free, and now based on the application, they're eligible for reduced benefits. The reduced benefits start when that determination of eligibility is made for the current school year. Processing, approving, denying applications, notifying households, implementing eligibility determination must be made within 10 operating days of receipt of the application. So you need to do all of that process within 10 operating days. The household must be notified of their eligibility, and that includes if they are denied based on an application. Addressing special situations when determining eligibility, such as a foster child listed on a household application. And Erica went through several examples that a foster child is eligible based on being a foster child, but can be listed on a household application as a member of the household. So they can be included in the number of household members. Assessing the completeness of different types of applications for determination of eligibility is included in the manual to make sure that you have a complete application. If any area of the application is left blank, such as they didn't put a 0 in for 0 income, you cannot assume that it is a 0 income application. They must indicate 0 on the application. Record retention of a minimum of 3 years after the final claim is submitted for the fiscal year to which they pertain. So record retention is anything related to the claim for reimbursement. And so that includes the free and reduced applications, the food service part of the program, such as production records, menus, anything that substantiates the amount of reimbursement received by a district, 3 years plus the current. Moving on. Section 4, the meal application. Households complete one application for their students who attend the same school district. Provide foreign language translations of the applications and assistance to those with limited English proficiency in the completion of the application. Very, very important. Households who do not initially apply for meal benefits at the beginning of the school year should be reminded and encouraged throughout the school year to complete the school meals application if they feel that they may be eligible. As Erica mentioned, it's not a requirement. A student or a school cannot require households to complete an application, but we do want to remind households of the availability of the application if they feel they may be eligible for free and reduced price meal benefits. And then SFAs, school food authorities, are responsible for assuring any automated certification, which would be the approval of applications, and any verification process, that those two processes meet all regulatory requirements and policies, including the calculation of household income when multiple frequencies are reported. So that's right from the eligibility manual. Moving on. Paper applications. The application form and instructions must be included with the letter to households. Electronic and scanned applications, not required, but encouraged. So I know we have many districts that provide the application electronically as a way for households to complete it. SFAs may accept scanned paper applications. Going back to the electronic application, the letter to households must inform the household how to access the system to apply for benefits. The letter must also explain the household still has the option to submit a paper application and must indicate how the household may obtain and submit a paper application from the school. And then electronic applications must contain the information required for all applications. So the same information that is in the nutrition services prototype must be included on the electronic application. And it does require nutrition services approval for use. We're ensuring that it contains all of the required information, and we've reminded our districts to submit those screenshots and links to Aspen CosmoCheck earlier this summer. But as a reminder, those do need pre-approval. And even the approval letter that's generated by a computer software system must contain the information that is on our prototype of approval denial letter. Moving on, confidentiality and disclosure. Can't overemphasize the need to maintain confidentiality when processing applications. Households won't apply if they feel that there is not confidentiality. We must strive to prevent overt identification. Federal, state, and local programs that may obtain student eligibility information is included in Section 5, and it also outlines when written parental or guardian consent is required prior to disclosure. And I've cited the bottom regulations that, you know, if it is found that this information is released that does not follow the regulations, there could be the possibility of criminal penalties for improper release of information. So it's very wise to be very familiar with Section 5 of the guidance manual. Moving on. And so disclosure means revealing or using individual children's program eligibility information obtained through the eligibility process for the purposes other than the purpose for which the information was obtained. And so I'm talking individual student eligibility. If you are a small school where it's easy to maybe identify a student's eligibility, then that would also include improper disclosure of the aggregate data. The SFA must have written consent from the household to use the information provided on the application, including the determination of meal benefits for non-program purposes. So that would include applying for scholarships, information submitted to perhaps a school counselor. Consent must be obtained each school year. And we reviewed the sharing of information form during Erica's part of the presentation, where she talked about the optional forms available for schools to send to households. Moving on. Overt identification, any action that may result in a child being recognized as certified for or potentially receiving free or reduced priced school meals or free milk. And as we talked about during the notification of availability of free and reduced price benefits, certification, notification of eligibility, and then during the provision of meal service, including the point of service meal counting. It shouldn't come up on the screen if that child is eligible for free or reduced price meals. It's confidential information and it's on a need to know basis. So it should not be public information where others can view that information. Moving on. Verification. And we're a little early in the process of the school year for talking in depth about verification. I just want to mention in the manual, it talks about the key points of verification, which is the confirmation of information provided by the household used for the determination of free or reduced meal eligibility. And so then it goes through the requirements, the Code of Federal Regulations, which establish that SFAs, in conducting verification of eligibility for free and reduced price meals based on applications, why it's required and how it is implemented. And just as a reminder, verification begins October 1st, and the results of verification must be reported in the child nutrition program no later than November 15th. Moving on. The manual contains information on the following: the initial steps of verification, the process of selecting the applications for verification, including how to determine the sample size, when to review questionable applications, which are considered verification for cause, and they are not included in the required verification sample size. It's not required to conduct a verification for cause. It's encouraged, but it's not required. And you want to make sure you're being fair in selecting any applications for cause. Required procedures for notification and follow-up. What's an allowable source of information for verification, and how to determine if verification is complete. And as I said, this is a process that begins October 1st. More information will be sent from Nutrition Services regarding the verification process in September. So let's move to the next slide. Upcoming bookkeeper Zoom trainings to make sure that you're registered for. On Thursday, August 21st, we will be hosting offer versus serve, point of service meal counting, and submitting the monthly claim for reimbursement. And then on Thursday, September 10th, from 1:30 to 3:30 Central Standard Time, we will be reviewing verification more in depth. And we are available to answer any of your questions as you begin the school year. We're always available to answer your questions, but this would be an opportunity to join in on a Zoom training where others may have the same questions that you do, and we will be answering those questions. So let's move on. Our non-discrimination statement. And we're going to leave this slide up because we want your feedback. We want to know what you thought of today's training. So please take the time to provide some feedback for us on determining how effective today's training was. And I think if you're having any trouble with the QR code, we will enter in the link in the chat, and I will do that